What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, TV shows. If it's geeky, if it's nerdy, right here, this is where I like to talk about it. Right now, I want to give you guys my review of the HBO Max original movie, Witches. Now, Witches is the second time that this book has been adapted for the screen. And to be completely fair and completely honest, completely transparent, I've never seen the original Witches, and I believe that starred Angelica Houston. I went into this without ever having seen the original, without ever having seen or read the book. In fact, I went into this without even watching the trailer for it. I was just looking for something to watch. I was thumbing through HBO Max. I saw a new movie pop up, and I watched it. And what did I think of it? To be honest, I liked it. Now, I liked it as a complete noob to this story who cannot compare it to the book, cannot compare it to the original movie. I can't make any of those comparisons because I haven't seen them. So I'm judging this strictly on its own merits, and I had a pretty good time with it. It stars a couple really great actresses in Anne Hathaway as the Grand Witch and Octavia Spencer as Grandma. And I thought both of them were the two bright spots of this movie. Both of these actresses did a phenomenal job in the roles that they were given. And I felt like whenever Anne Hathaway or Octavia Spencer was on the screen, that's when the movie was firing on all cylinders. The ballroom scene with Anne Hathaway and the witches, I thought that was the best scene of the movie because that was the scene where Anne Hathaway just got to let it all out and just overact and be that scary witch figure that we had kind of been envisioning in our minds since the beginning of the movie. That was definitely my favorite scene of the movie. I kept on waiting for the kid to get caught. I was like, don't they have great smelling? And then she would sniff a couple times and she would, keep on with her theatrics. And then eventually, he got caught. He got caught just like I thought he would. But I did not know that he was going to get turned into a mouse. You know why I didn't know that? Because I'd never seen the original movie and I never read the book. I didn't even know that anybody was going to get turned into a mouse. Turns out 3 people were. Well, 3 kids were. And for me, that was the weakest component of this film. The kids as mice, for whatever reason, it didn't necessarily work for me. I felt like the special effects, while they looked, the CGI was rendered realistically enough, I just didn't feel like, I felt like it was a little bit too cartoony for the world it was inhabiting. This is a kind of a dark content movie. You've got witches, they want to destroy kids, and a lot of the imagery was scary, and then you got these Cinderella mice running around. And that just didn't work for me. I thought that I just thought that it kidified it. I thought that it really kidified it. And I know that this is supposed to be a family film. I know it's rated PG, and the HBO Max even advertised it as being family friendly. But for me, it was a little bit too Disney-fied it. It was a little bit too Disney-fied for me. I would have rather seen it with a little bit more edge. And the idea of turning them into something, that's not what I was opposed to. I was opposed to the way that they were rendered, the way that they approached turning them into mice. I mean, they look like, they just kept on making me think about the Cinderella characters from the animated version. It was just a little too neat, a little too clean, and a little too cute. To be fair, when Octavia Spencer's childhood friend, when she got turned into a chicken, that was a disturbing scene. Everything about that was disturbing because it happened slowly, it happened gradually. The mice changes were quick. They were quick. They happened like that. The chicken change was gradual and it was visual, and that scene was a little bit disturbing. And that's what I would like to have seen a lot of this be like. Not necessarily the quick changes, but a gradual change to a mouse. I think it would have been a lot more in tone with what they were going for in the movie. I think about everybody's seen it now, right? I mean, everybody's seen at least the original witches, except for me apparently. So I can go ahead and talk about it. When they feed the soup to the witches, and what happens to them. I would have liked to have seen that been a slower change, because I feel like that would have instilled a lot more terror in our antagonist as well. Seeing a slower, gradual, more terrifying, cerebral change going on, I feel like that would have been a lot more terrifying to Anne Hathaway's character, a lot more terrifying to the witches at the table. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of it was awfully clean, and I especially in the context of that first kid that was transformed into the chicken. I felt like everything else was a little bit too clean. I kept waiting for the girl who was turned into the chicken. I kept waiting for her family to serve up chicken one day. They didn't do that. And you know, she didn't talk either. And they've established that when you get changed, you can talk. So I thought that was all. There's some issues there with the continuity of it that I didn't necessarily understand or like. Stanley Tucci was really funny in this as the hotel manager, and I don't know, he was another one of those bright spots of the movie. The kid actors, I feel like the kid actors didn't always work for me. I feel like a lot of times they were reading their lines, or they just weren't not necessarily understanding what the context was and what they were acting out. So I'd say half the time the kid actors worked for me, and then half the time they just didn't work for me. They just seemed stiff. They seemed like new child actors. But yeah, I gotta tell you that overall I had a good time with this. I mean, it's a Robert Zemeckis film. I like Robert Zemeckis. I've always been a big fan of his movies, and I feel like sometimes he can get a little bit over reliant, especially modern Robert Zemeckis. I feel like he can get a little bit reliant on that CGI. And I think that's definitely something that we saw here. You know, I'm just looking at some of his filmography here, and he's done a lot of those stop motion films, The Polar Express, Beowulf, Christmas Carol. Yeah, you know, I just feel like his whole over-reliance on... I don't even know if I want to call it an over-reliance on CGI, because he has to use CGI to make this movie work. But it was Disney-fied. That's the best way to put it, guys. It was Disney-fied, and I just didn't care for that. But overall, like I said, Anne Hathaway, Octavia Spencer stole the show. I didn't really like the resolution in this movie. I felt like... what happened to the three kids? We know they turned into mice. I feel like how the movie left them at the end, I feel like all that felt a little bit unresolved and unsatisfying, and maybe a little bit pandering. Like the kids like this. I wasn't a fan of that. I thought that they were setting something else up different with the grandma being a witch doctor, and all that stuff. I thought they were setting up something else. What I thought was going to happen didn't happen. I didn't care where they left the kids. It kind of felt like I said, without resolution. But I had a fun time watching this. I was hooked on it. I didn't think I would be. I thought it was going to be one of those movies that I turn on, watch it for 15 minutes, get bored, and turn it off. It grabbed me, it hooked me, and I was in it till the end, and I enjoyed it. So I'm going to give Witches a B-. It had a lot of fun stuff in it, but they also made a lot of decisions. Robert Zemeckis made a lot of decisions that I didn't really care for. But it wasn't enough to really deter from the enjoyment of the movie. I really had a good time watching it. So Witches, I give a B+. But I'm only one dude. What was your take on Witches, the HBO Max original film? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And as always, I thank you for joining me here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.